Welcome to the Don't Die Rusty podcast. I'm Rick Hanson, and we will be talking about living, not dying. We're all in this adventure together, and we will be interviewing people who inspire us to live our best lives. People with various backgrounds who will walk us down the trails they took to not die rusty. Adventure in life are many things to many people. It could be a sprint or an endurance race, but with each adventure, we become a better version of us. We hope you keep chasing those dreams, being the best you, and of course, don't die rusty. Hello, Don't Die Rusty Nation. Tonight is going to be an interesting episode because somewhere in the space of time, I've met Jen and Jungwirth, but I don't know where. It could have been it had to be in Spearfish. And then I have been following her on social media, and she piqued my interest because she's an adventurer. She's loves being outdoors, and she is now. And I wanted to hear her story because she has a blog out, mini blogs, and it's funny because it's messy. It was
My Messy Lines.
My Messy Lines.
Yes.
So it's interesting because to me, because like I said, I kind of knew who you were, but I couldn't place you. And then all of a sudden you get this DM from this guy in Spearfish, South Dakota, and he's not trying to ask you out or anything. He's saying, do you want to do a podcast? So what did you think then?
At first I was just kind of had this moment of anxiety, like, oh gosh, like, do I want to be that vulnerable? But I share my story via my writing, and so I'm happy to converse here.
And it's interesting. I hate that I always use the word interesting, but this is Mental Health Month.
Yes.
So I believe, and everybody else should believe, since they know me, I don't give a darn about being vulnerable, because I think if we're vulnerable and we strike, we're having a conversation now, but other people can say, you know what? Did you hear that conversation that Jen and Rick had? And now we can strike up a conversation. They can start a conversation by our conversation.
Yes.
And say how similar this was.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, and I have been following you, and then in the Instagram pages here, and I follow you, and I'm going, we similarly think alike.
Yeah.
I think, and that's what really said, you know what, I'm going to go talk to her. And then I found your blog, and I started reading it. But I'll tell you, what's really interested me was you were out running.
Yes.
I want to get into the deeper stuff, but I want to talk a little. Yeah. But you were out running. You posted that you were out running, I think it was last weekend, actually, or something. And do you run ultras, or what is your plan?
So the past couple summers, I have run ultras. Yes. And I just got into that about 2 years ago. And so I've done the Black Hills 150K back-to-back summers. And then next weekend, I am heading to Fort Collins to run Quad Rock. I'm doing the 25 miler, which isn't technically an ultra, but it is a trail race. And then my friend will be doing the 50 miler.
Well, that is awesome, because I don't know if you have listened to some of my episodes with Emily Hallgood. She just won Canyons last weekend in the 100-kilometer. And then Lindsay Ulrich, she got fourth in the 100-miler. And I'm good friends with them. And the funny thing is, I don't know if you've ever heard of Western States.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I'm going out to Western States to be around, hang out with Emily and have fun, and her coach and I. And I think it'll be really, I feel honored to be able to go out to him.
Yes.
And Emily is, I don't know how she does it. She runs a smile on her face, I think, all the time. And it was really cool that she won Canyons last week.
Yes.
And anyway, so that just piqued my interest. Yes. I was going, you know what? Because you told me earlier you were a sprinter in high school. I was a sprinter in high school. And I fell in love with the longer stuff myself. I mean, we'll get into this too about 2020 and stuff, but that really piqued my interest because then you're outdoorsy, you're enjoying life.
Doing the best I can, yes.
So you were a teacher.
Yeah, I
So
was.
the other thing that piqued my interest was also I watched you for cross country.
Yes, I coached for about 4 or 5 years.
In Sundance?
Yeah, yes.
And so the interesting part about that was I saw that. I saw you running, and I thought, yeah, this will be interesting. Did you live in Spearfish and then go to Sundance and
Yep.
then Sundance?
Yes, I commuted to Sundance.
And now you are working in Rapid City.
I am. Yes, I moved here. It'll be a year ago in July.
And started a new career.
I did.
And that's just what makes me happy to see, is because I want people to chase their dreams.
Yes.
That's what this is all about. But I love that you have your blog. And I think your blog would be will keep us on the road here, because I have talked to people that have been addicted. Mm-hmm. And I haven't drank, I haven't drank for a month now, but I've never, like, I might have a beer here and there socially.
Yeah. Yes.
But I haven't had I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to lose weight. I went to a functional doctor, mm-hmm. and I've started that journey. And I think everybody has to find that point where they say, either I want to get better, I want to better myself. And I loved your story about how you stopped drinking.
Yes.
And how do you feel now? I mean, tell me your story a little bit about that, but then I want to know how you feel now.
Yeah. So I definitely increased alcohol use pretty heavily, probably around 2020. I felt the stressors with my career as a teacher. I love being a teacher, but there was just so much that I felt I was responsible for. And on top of that, and just life in itself and doing it alone, it was just heavy. It was just kind of a lonely time, and it just kind of never stopped. And they always say you have to hit rock bottom before you make a harsh change in your life. Well, I think I hit rock bottom a couple times and stayed down there until I had to make an active choice to no longer partake in alcohol. It's wild. I have some really great friends here in Rapid that I've had some conversations with, and just the clarity that you have and the confidence that comes with that. And I feel alert, awake, healthy, energized, just ready to tackle the day.
I have to agree with you, because I don't have a problem not drinking, because I want to see the sunrise tomorrow. And I remember my college days will go there, that I wouldn't see these sunrises, and you don't know how many you're going to have in the rest of for the rest of your life. You don't know if you'll end tomorrow. Yes. And so I like what you said, the clarity, and then the confidence. When you can say no, mm-hmm. that is a big confidence booster. Yes. And the other thing is, it's become trendy not to drink. Yes. And I hate to say trendy, but I think there's an awareness now in the world, or at least in America. Mm-hmm. Maybe I can't say the whole world, because I haven't been out around the whole world at this point. In now, but I think there's certainly a trend with, we'll say, famous people, actors, athletes, and other people that are saying, I stopped drinking, I feel good. Yeah. And that's the other thing about it, is it's about goals and dreams. Yes. Like I said, we talked earlier, I would have a beer maybe every once, or maybe every 2 months. I might have a beer. There's none at home for me. I mean, it's kind of like eating healthy. If you don't have ice cream in the house, you aren't going to eat ice cream. Right. If you aren't going to have beer in the house, you aren't going to drink the beer or whatever else. And I think when we get older, that we start appreciating life maybe a little bit more. Yes. And I don't want to hinder those places that I can go see. Yes.
Yep. And I enter a new decade in June. I'll be 40. And so I've thought about that. It's like, what do I want my next decade to look like? Because my 30s definitely didn't look the way that I thought they would in some aspects. And a lot of that is tied directly to alcohol use. And so I don't want to continue that as I move forward in any aspect of my life.
It's good that we realize this stuff. I wish I was your age when I would realize this
Yeah.
stuff. I talked to, I talked to Anna Hamlin last week, and I thought, I wish I had her clarity at 25 because I was a dumbass.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. We were talking earlier, and we grew up relatively close,
Yeah.
similar area, and I thought softball was my life, and I
Yeah.
played a ton of softball until I moved back out here. I mean, I played it in high school, and then I've been in Spearfish roughly close to 30 years, and I played it out here too. But I'm saying, then I started realizing it's funny. You get to, like, I get to 40. I retired at 40, but nobody's going to remember those catches. They're not going to remember your wins. They're not going to remember the losses even. And I started kicking myself like, yes, I love playing the game. And being from Central South Dakota, you can be a big fish in a little pond, and you have a little notoriety, and it feels good.
Yeah.
That was our dopamine before social media.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And now I've realized, damn, I wish I would have hitchhiked to Alaska.
Yes.
I wish I would have. I mean, I did travel. I've lived in Australia. I've been to places other than that too. But I'm saying, when do you realize you're 40, going to be 40, and I'm happy for you that you're where you kind of have your direction for sure going.
Yes. And I do the same thing. I think about, all the time spent, in a bar in my 20s, or, even in my 30s with, people, and I could have taken a trip, or like what did you spend your time doing? And when you reflect back on that, it's kind of, it can be depressing sometimes.
Well, and it can be. I listened. We talked a little bit about Simon Sinek, and then he had many gripes. I just read her book too. She's a death doula, and she said, "Why would you want to live to 117, 125? Because the time you wasted, what are you going to be doing in that? Like, how many people scroll? How many people? This is where I'm going with this. Is like, we spent a lot of time at bars and sleeping in and not enjoying life.
Yes.
And now we can enjoy life.
Yes.
And now that you start seeing your focus, you start seeing, like, and especially you, I think you should get out there more I think people should start following you more, because I appreciate you being a single woman and wanting to go on adventures. And it takes a while. It takes, we were talking earlier about going to that dark places before you have to start realizing that you need to get out of it.
Yes.
And I think that when you go to those places and you start focusing, that's where you start getting your confidence. When you start climbing out of those dark places, when you can be alone and not lonely.
Yes. And that's, when I was down in the dark space, for so long, the more I started talking about my struggles with alcohol, or my loneliness, or challenges that I had in whatever avenue of life it was, then I felt more confident, because it felt like another weight being lifted off my shoulder, and then you can pull yourself out and move forward.
Yeah, because when you can realize where you are and know where you want to go and remember where you've been, that things can start brightening. And sometimes it's fast and sometimes it's slow.
Yes, absolutely. And I don't think enough people talk about it. And so, people that do struggle don't know who to talk to, or should they talk about it? Will I be judged? Will I lose friends? How is this going to affect me? But I encourage people to talk about it.
Well, I don't know how you lose friends. but I'm looking at myself here. And there's friends that I saw that were constantly, I think there was a blog that you wrote about, maybe it was you were in a relationship and he was constantly negative. The one about the fourth place, the person that said something about was giving you heck about your kid got fourth place.
It was a colleague.
A colleague, I'm sorry.
With. Yes, yes.
But here's the deal. I just start separating.
Yes.
Because I start realizing that negativity is not good for me. And it's funny, like when you start seeing this negative and people start, it takes two to, then they start going back and forth. But what does that person say behind your back?
Right.
You know?
Yes. Yep. And that was a huge realization, even working in education that this person did help create like a toxic work environment, and there was a lot of negativity, and it drug me down,
Well,
year
I know.
after year.
I've been there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So because of I've been in those negative spots, and you have to release those friends.
You do. Mm-hmm.
And it's not like I go up and say, we need to say goodbye.
Yeah.
It's that, I just start distancing myself.
Yes.
And I wrote a few times that we need to text people that we're thinking of them.
Yes.
But it's the good people we need to text, because we need to remind people. You wrote one about a friend that you hadn't seen for 13 years, I think it was.
Oh, yes.
See, I can remember. I did some studying here.
Yes, I have had some, very just experiences like that people that I hadn't talked to in years upon years that have reached out and just will randomly say hello or how are you doing, or they might share something they're going through, and I like that I can be that person for them, and that I came across their mind too.
Yeah.
I think that there's a reason those things happen out there, and if you're a person of faith or whatnot, that someone comes on your mind, and
well,
reason.
And I do too, because I think it's the right thing to do. I think it's try every Saturday. I just scroll through my people that I know in my phone and say, I'm going to send that person a note or that person a note, just to say hello, have an amazing day, you're a wonderful person, or something like that, and talk to you later.
Yes.
And they know that you're thinking about them.
Yes.
But we don't know when those people come back into your lives that you go, I missed this time, but I'm glad I'm getting it back, getting something future back, because I can. At that time, I wasn't prepared to handle that relationship, because we were going in different directions too.
Yes. Yep. And I've definitely had those moments with friends as well, where we've had, years that have gone by for whatever reason. And then when we come back, it's oftentimes kind of right where we left off, but we're both in healthier places. And we've both been able to realize that. And so then our friendships are stronger.
And that just puts a smile on your face.
Yeah, it sure does.
And then you can go back and remember those old times a little bit. And,
yes.
Because it's kind of sad, and I can put blame on myself, but I hardly talk to anybody I went to high school with.
Oh, me neither. Yeah, not at all. But I should say one of my really good friends, she graduated 2 years ahead of me. She lives 2 streets over. We go running and hiking a lot, but until I moved, or she moved to Rapid, and she was with the Air Force.
Yeah.
But until she moved here, we never kept in touch. It was once we were in the vicinity, we started doing our outdoor activities together. But
isn't that funny how that happens? Because I have a girl that I graduated with, and we might meet in the grocery store.
Yeah.
You're somewhere here and there, but it's just one of those deals, I mean, but it's not. I had a friend that he lived in Minnesota, and he came out here, and he said it's a different lifestyle in the hills than in Minnesota, which we know it's a different lifestyle than in Central South Dakota.
Exactly. Yes.
And they said the activity that we do out here, we all are up in the hills a lot.
Yes.
We're either hiking or biking or running or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I'm not a I don't mind biking, but I have to watch where I'm going, and I don't like to wreck. So
Yeah, me
that's why I
neither.
like hiking, and because I
Yeah.
can look around and
Yeah.
see things. But we create a different lifestyle out here, and it's funny. I go back and see my dad, and then I'm heading back home, and you see the Black Hills,
Yes.
and it's like I'm home.
Yep. Absolutely.
And it doesn't matter where you are. You can see, I could be in the Southern Hills and say I'm home.
Yes.
It's something about this place.
There really is. Yeah, I'm at peace when I'm out among the trees and just kind of, overlooking whatever hike I am on. Anything that overlooks the hills, mountains, whatever it might be, there's just a sense of calm.
And when did you find your peace?
Oh gosh. I mean, if we're being realistic, like with actual calm and peace and just connection, it wouldn't have been until within the past year that I've really truly felt a change. I would have moments of it over the past 5, 6, 7 years, but never anything that was consistent and that felt good. But when you live a chaotic lifestyle for so long, that feeling of calm and peace feels very foreign.
Yeah.
And so it's harder to embrace at times.
Huh. Well, that's interesting. I mean, that's very, very true. It took me a long time to find peace myself. But once peace comes with confidence.
Yes.
And like I said, and it's also goes back to the being alone but not being lonely part too.
Yes.
And it's funny because I've talked to my wife and I said, if something happened to her, I don't want to look for anybody else.
Yeah.
Not because I'm against relationships. It's I'm happy and I've found peace.
Mm-hmm.
And we both enjoy life together, but we enjoy doing our other things too without each other.
Yes. Yes. And I think that's important with any relationship, having like those separate activities, but also the things that bring you together.
It is.
It's very important. Yeah.
I think there was one, you were talking about you're being like people wanted you find you a good man.
Yes.
And have the kids and do this and that. Well, I'll tell you something. I'm 57, have no kids. I mean, I have stepkids, but I don't have any kids of my own. I didn't plan that, but I think God has plans for you, and maybe the podcast is my legacy. Or I was always told that, like, you were a teacher, and those kids will have learned from you things that will last for a lifetime. I'm not saying that kids are bad. I'm saying sometimes, you know what, it's like having a pet, and you can, but it is, we can go do whatever we want to.
Right. Yes.
There's no, I don't have to worry about taking the dog to the kennel.
No.
I don't have to worry about finding a babysitter.
Yes.
And if I want to go on I'm going to actually. I think I went. Have you ever? Well, you were in Moab.
Yep. Yes.
And the LaSalles. Were you up in the LaSalles?
They were on fire when I went. So no, I didn't get to.
I was the first non-resident to shoot a mountain goat up in the LaSalles.
Oh.
And I was at the bottom. And I mean, not at the bottom. I wanted to climb Mount Peel.
Okay. Yep.
And I didn't get to climb Mount Peel because I could see it.
Yes.
But now I'm thinking about going down there and finishing it.
Do it.
Yes. But that's
yeah.
I think, and I talked to my partner today, Ricky, and I said, one of the episodes I want to do is dreams and gasoline. That's all we need.
Yeah.
You know what? Think about that. That's all you needed.
Yep. It is all I needed.
You jump in your car and go.
I did. Yep. Yep.
And I don't know. I mean, I like with my wife, we lived different lives until she came with me. We got together.
Yep.
And I have a tent, I have a sleeping bag, and I have food, and we're ready to go.
Yes.
And you don't have to pay for a hotel. It's adventures are relatively cheap if you want them to be.
They very much so are. Yes. Yes. And that's what I'd spend my summers doing. Yeah. When I had them off as a teacher.
What was your first thought of going on an adventure all alone?
I was terrified. Utah was my first solo adventure. And I didn't tell anyone I was going until the night before, aside the person that was watching my cat. She knew that I was leaving. I had my car packed and I didn't really plan. I just said, I'm staying in Moab at this specific place, for the first night, and we'll see what, happens there. The morning of, I even messaged my Airbnb host and I said, I'm really nervous because those cells are on fire and I didn't know how close it was to Moab. Would I be able to even see, canyonlands and arches? What was the air quality? And I said, this is my first solo trip and I'm really nervous. And she very much so calmed me.
Well, good.
Yep. But once I got going all the way to Sundance, I thought about turning around. And then once I hit Sundance, I was like, nope, you're going to be fine. And yeah.
Well, there is something about that, though. There is something about, I love Utah.
Yes.
I don't know. There is something about Utah that draws me every year, and I have good friends down there. But there is something about Utah that is so different.
Yes.
I don't know how to explain it.
I don't either. And I did the Utah Big Five. So I was down there for about 2 weeks. I spent a significant amount of time there. The people were just fantastic. I loved the people that I met, locals and travelers. And when you get on that Big Five circuit, you kind of run into the same people. And, I'd be sitting at a coffee shop having breakfast and, a woman would see me that I met at the last national park and just ask, how's your trip going, or whatever it might be. One of the couples that I met, we were doing Angel's Landing and her husband was like at the base, like he didn't want to go up. He was terrified of heights, terrified. And he got about halfway up the spine and he just froze. And so I ran into them later on and asked if he had gotten up there, and he did. So that was exciting. But it's just the people you meet and connect with. The conversations you have are just fantastic.
And that's one of the things I love about traveling in itself, because you never know who you're going to meet and connect with. Because I've met so many different people, and I was flying from I think I was flying from Perth to Sydney, and this is a long time ago. There was a drunk guy on the plane.
Yeah. And
he was sitting by this older couple, and like he was getting belligerent, and the hostess came over to me and said, do you mind if these people sit by you? I said no. And then this girl went and sat beside the drunk guy, which was probably good for her because I think she got some free flights out of the deal.
Yeah.
But the couple that came and sat by me, she was from Australia and he was from America. I think Washington. And he was an American pilot in the Air Force. And they told me they met in World War II.
Oh my goodness.
And she was a nurse in the Northern Territory up in Darwin. Yeah. And I got 4-hour love story. All the way across, because I was flying from Perth to Sydney. Yeah. And you never know who you're going to meet and who's going to be interesting. And I am telling you, that couple, there are times that you wish you would got names.
Yes.
And there's times that you wish you could have contacted them, because I would love to have a podcast with those two right now.
Exactly. Yes.
But you never know who you're going to meet.
You don't. No, not at all. And, like my most recent trip when I went to the Rocky Mountains, I was hiking up and I just had this, I didn't want to be alone, whatever reason. And sure enough, I walked up behind a hiker and we hiked most of the way to the top of the mountain. He was a gentleman who had just had hip surgery. This was his first hike. So we chatted, and he was a retired pediatrician that had traveled the world helping, kids in third world countries. And oh boy, he had stories. And it was just such a great conversation. And, he was so joyous when he reached the top because he didn't think he was going to be able to do that again. He didn't know how his surgery was going to go. So it was a great experience.
Because I did like your post you put up today about waving. Jen put up a post today about how people walk by. What was it?
Just saying hi. Hi. Hi.
And I say that to everybody when I'm going up or coming down. But like in 2020, That's when I was climbing Crow-Picaton.
Yes. Yep.
And I always said hi, but I met people from all over the country because at that time everybody's climbing, and I happened to be climbing it a lot, so I met a lot of people.
Yes.
And it was interesting because there were families coming out that were this was a time that they could come out and it was we'd stop along the trail and have a conversation.
Yes. Yes. Yep.
And actually it's funny because I met my orthopedic surgeon. I mean, I met Dr. Jensen up on top the
Yep.
first time too.
Yes. Well, and it's like, you have these conversations, especially when you're in like Colorado hiking and you meet people. And I was doing, oh gosh, what's the mountain in Phoenix?
I don't know when
I'm drawing up a Camelback.
Okay.
And I was going up it, and I just started chatting with this guy and his kids, and his like dentist lived in Spearfish, or not a guy he went to dentistry school with, and it was just such a small world once you get talking to people, who they know and how you're connected, and yeah, it's fun.
It is, and it is just I just love, and the woods can do that to you.
Yes.
Too. You can be, because I'm following a couple people now that are doing the PCT trail.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a goal in life.
Yes.
I would just someday I'm going to do that, and we'll see what happens. But someday I'm going to do that.
I hiked a very small portion of it when I was in Oregon on the 4th of July. A friend that I had gone to college with lived in Oregon, didn't know. She saw that I was visiting, and we met up and did, a short hike along that to a waterfall. But yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I get to, I guess I got to be a little bit, I'll get to be a little bit on it when I go to the Western States, is what I've told.
Yeah.
So that I'm so excited about that one too. So, this is Mental Health Month.
Yes.
And you did a blog about fight your battles.
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit about that, if you could remember it?
Yeah, I should have probably reviewed it a little bit. Yeah, it was just, the thought process when I wrote that was I had listened to a student share a very dark moment in his life. He shared with the Fellowship of Christian Athlete group that I volunteered with at school. And he was so vulnerable and real and honest about what he went through and how he felt. And, for a high school boy to be able to do that I was so proud of him, and his peers surrounded him and cared for him. And, when I wrote that, I really wanted people to know like that they're not alone. When you go through a dark time, it feels like it could be the end of the world. It's a very dark time. And when we share our stories, it's helping us, but it's also helping other people build that community and maybe find the help that they need.
Yeah.
Yes, because when we keep it to ourselves, nothing changes.
It certainly doesn't. And that's why I like being out here and telling stories of resilience.
Yes.
And I don't know if it's funny. I had one of my friends, Jerry Norton. I did an episode with him and actually Cody Custer too. And then I did one with Jerry about, and he sent me a meme or a reel the other day about resilience, and it's, resilience is when you have a problem and to where you fix it.
Yep.
And it's all the things in between. That's resilience.
Yes.
And that's the battles that we need to fight.
We do. And I had been battling them, for a number of years. And, it takes time, and you're going to fall. And that's the one thing that I finally, the past year or so had to keep reminding myself is just because you took a step back or you stumbled doesn't mean that you aren't making progress, and to allow grace. All the effort and good work that you had, moving forward, that still counted. But now reevaluate what made you stumble, and then fix it and move forward.
Exactly. And it's interesting too, because sometimes it takes longer than we want it to.
It does.
But if we keep on working at it, because we're going to keep on stumbling. It's
Yes.
like running that trail run, and you stumble either on a root or you stumble on that little rock because you didn't lift your foot high enough, and then you stumble.
Yep. Well, that's
And
happened.
you know,
Yep. It is. It's true. And, you just have to keep going. Okay. Like, pick your feet up, watch ahead of you a little further, whatever it might be, so you don't fall. It took 2 or 3 times on my last trail race to not fall. But yeah, it's just pushing forward. And that's where I think finally now, sobriety is starting to stick because I'm not rushing it. I'm not a very patient person,
yeah,
or
I hear
I
ya. I
wasn't.
hear ya.
And so, it's taking it day by day. That's probably something that I've really grown to, accept, is that every day is a new day. Take it one day at a time, one step at a time, and you'll see progress.
And because I'm learning that myself, because I'm not a patient person.
Yeah.
I want to be. I got into that lethargic state probably 7 months ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I started gaining weight more than, even though I was active. You're still. I would get up in the mornings and I was looking forward, like I get to go see the sunrise.
Yes.
And then at times it was like, I have to get up, I have to go do this.
Yes.
It's not that I get to.
Yep.
And now I'm back to get to.
Good. Yes. Yep. I had an entire summer that I didn't get out of bed. I would lay in bed until maybe 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'd get up and I'd go, to my workout class at the hot room, and then I'd come home and go right back to sleep. I isolated, and everything just felt heavy. And you have to find ways to pull yourself out.
And you
that.
do.
You do.
And you have to find the roots to the problem. And it's funny. I think you wrote in one of your blogs that you need to be kind to yourself and maybe go to your book your book that you want to read. I can't remember your author. Was it?
Which one was that,
I
I
can't
wonder?
remember. But anyway, I have problems because I always read doggone self-help books.
Oh, is it the We Are the Luckiest with the
Yes.
sobriety book? Yes, yes. It's reflecting back, like the day that I had my relapse. I did not read my book. I didn't
Yeah.
do my, journaling, my Bible study,
Yeah.
whatever it was that I was doing that day. And it's keeping with that routine.
And
Yes.
I think it is, because if we want to be better, we have to think about being better too.
We do.
I mean, we got to know that there's not going to be great days, but there's going to be good days.
Yes.
And not great days every day, but there's going to be good days.
Yes.
And sometimes the best days are, maybe you didn't have the best day, but you helped somebody else have a great day.
Yes. And I find great joy from helping others. That's why I loved teaching so much, is, just helping students succeed. I'm not just even in the classroom, but, I advise student council, and I loved watching my students grow into leaders and build that confidence, and just seeing the things that they accomplished from, their 7th and 8th grade year when they were with me in student council to their senior year. And that was always wonderful. So I love seeing others succeed and helping them along the way.
And it kind of gives you a little pride too. Like you might have had a little help them becoming a leader.
Yes, yes. I like to think that I helped a few of them, hopefully.
Well, good. I think that those, by you doing what you're doing, you help them gain confidence maybe a little earlier than they would.
Yes. Yep. And that's, I'm going to be going to graduation in Sundance here in a couple weeks, and there is one student in particular. He's the valedictorian, and I watched him. Well, I've had him in my classroom since his 7th grade year, and he ran for student body president and won. That was something that he did not have the confidence to do when he was a freshman.
Mm-hmm.
He was scared to take any step forward that would maybe put somebody else out. Well, what if somebody else wants to be president? What if somebody else wants this role? I don't want to take that away from them. And he knew, I've got it in me, I'm going to go for it. And yeah, his student body elected him, and then he's valedictorian. He's just succeeded.
That is awesome to hear. It's awesome to hear successes.
Yes.
And I love hearing that. And I can only hope that I can see successes too.
Yes. Well, me as well. Yes.
I mean, see other people's successes that I've helped attribute it to.
Yes. Yeah. I know the thank you letters you get as a teacher really are helpful. I sometimes turn to those actually, like on hard days. I've saved all of them over the years, and you just kind of think about those glimmering moments in your life where you have made a difference in somebody else's life. So,
because I get DMs probably maybe once a week of somebody listened to an episode that they enjoyed, and they got something out of, and I inspired them, or the guest inspired them. And when that happens, you go, well, thank you, and then you go back and listen to the episode, and you go, well, sometimes I have to go back and listen to them.
Yes, I know. Yeah. Yep. Just even one little phrase or thing that motivates them for change. Yep. That's what I hope I can do by sharing my stories with people and through writing or whatever it might be.
So I'm going to go in a way off base because you were an English teacher, correct?
Yes.
I'm going to say, if you could be any character in any book that you would be close to.
Yeah, I know this answer.
Who would you be? I
would be Jo March from Little Women.
Really?
Yes. I love Jo March. She is a woman that was characterized back in, a time when women were just expected to get married, have kids, settle down, not have a career. Jo March was opinionated. She defied any relationship that was suggested to her. She ended up becoming a writer and then opening a school.
Yeah.
And so I feel like we connect a lot in just that wanting to be an independent woman quite a bit. So yeah, it's always been Jo March.
I love to hear that. Because I saw something and it said, who would you want to be? And I keep on thinking, I go through different people, and I go through characters, and I also go through authors. Like, I wonder what it'd been like to be Hemingway in the time.
Oh, yeah.
In his prime.
Yes.
I'm talking the 20s. I'm not talking late Hemingway. I'm talking, think about being Jack Kerouac.
Yeah.
And then I have this quest to learn, and I love philosophy, but I'm a big Hemingway fan.
Yep.
And my favorite book is The Sun Also Rises.
Okay.
Because this is what I kick myself at times, because I was going to go on that trip. I was going to go to London.
Yep.
I was going to go to Paris. I was going to go to Spain, and I was going to do that whole trip because of The Sun Also Rises. But I never did it.
Yeah.
But I was
always still have time. Not yet.
I do. But and then I look at Jack Kerouac, and my favorite book is On the Road.
Okay.
And just traveling back and forth as a hobo.
Yeah.
That excites me.
Yes.
Excited me in that, like, you had guts just to jump on a train and go from wherever to wherever all the time. And, it's funny because I think I didn't read it. It was probably 25 years ago I read On the Road. The Road. Anyway, and I'm down in Denver. I'm on Colfax, and I'm thinking, these were gravel roads.
Yeah.
And anyway, and there's one other book I wanted to talk to you about, and that is Thomas Hilton's Paradise Lost.
Oh, okay.
No, Lost Horizon. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Milton wrote Paradise. Yes. Lost Horizon, because that was Shangri-La. Because I always wanted to know what Shangri-La was, and if we leave it, this is kind of my philosophies on life. Because when he was in Shangri-La, if you ever left it, you are never coming back.
Yeah.
And we have to make these decisions in life. Like, are we happy, or do we want to see what happens out in the world? And are we going
Yes.
to keep on? Then do we want to keep on looking for Shangri-La?
Yes. Yep. No, that's amazing advice. You have to move forward. You have
You,
to make changes,
you
shift
do
things
have
up.
to make changes, because what happens is you get comfortable.
You do.
And that's why I think that's why I'm attracted to long distance runners, in the aspect of the pain that they go through. I mean, that, it's a challenging of going that far, as well as going to these, as Cameron Haynes and Courtney DeWalter say, is the pain cave.
Yeah. There's pain. I've shed a lot of tears, on races. But for me, it's that mental ability, just being able to push through like the pain and the hard situation because it's temporary. Like, at the end, I'm going to get my chocolate milk,
Yeah.
or whatever it is that
Yeah.
they're going to give you. But it's just in that moment, it's hard. And how do you frame your thoughts to move forward? And so I think long distance running, I've only really been a long distance runner for about 7, 8-ish years. And I've grown with the distances that I desire over those 7 years. But it's just how to frame your thoughts. How are you going to move forward? And it really like transfers over into your day-to-day life when you're doing that long distance running, because how are you going to frame your thoughts day to day?
And that's what I mean, that's where I think Americans have become comfortable,
Yeah.
and they don't go get uncomfortable,
No.
and they don't understand. I mean, I'll put myself in that position too, is like, when we become uncomfortable, then we learn who we are.
Oh, yes. Yes. We get comfortable and don't want to even try the hard things. We just think we're going to fail before we try. And I've definitely had moments that I thought I would fail, going up a mountain, or maybe I should turn around, or maybe I should call this race and, get a DNF. And thankfully I kept pushing forward.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had one DNF in my life, and I knew I was going to take it because I didn't train properly. And so I said, I'm going to run 14 miles, get a half marathon in, and I'm good.
Yeah.
But that was a decision I had made before. So
Yeah.
I stuck to the plan still.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, the hard parts are the mental parts, the physical
Yeah.
parts, and I think, like most people want to sit at home and watch TV and scroll through things, or play video games. I have trouble doing most of that. Like I said, I love reading my books, but I find that more. I'm not trying to put myself in a different standard, but at least I'm learning something.
Yes. And, that's kind of because individuals want to stay at home and, do these comfortable, safer activities. And when I mean safe, I don't mean like, just not getting out of their comfort zone, is why I started solo travel. Is, I could either just do the same and not go experience the things I wanted to experience, and, take the trips I wanted to do. I mean, there was no one to go with. So I was like, well, you can go by yourself or not go at all, So I went by myself.
Well, here's see, this is what makes me laugh too, because I will ask somebody to go with me sometimes.
Yeah.
If there's times I want to go alone anyway, but I'll ask somebody to go with me. And like, if Cindy doesn't want to go where I want to go or something, or I'll ask somebody to go.
Mm-hmm.
And then and I'm not going to beg. Here's the deal. I don't beg.
Yep.
I'll ask you once, maybe twice,
Yep.
because you may have forgot about it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask you again. And if you don't have any interest, I'm going to go, because you aren't going to slow me down,
No.
because life is too short not to keep on moving forward.
Yep. Well, and I'd get a lot of like, wrinkled, faces, noses, like, oh, you want to go do that? No, that doesn't sound fun. And then it's like, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do. And then, I'd have friends say, well, we don't ever see you, or you don't spend time with us. And I'm like, well, because I'm out doing this instead. So it's just making those choices on, filling your time with what fills you with joy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I've had discussions with some people that I do, we talked earlier about, I felt like I had to go out, and now I'm back to get to, but I always knew what the sunrise meant to me.
Yes.
And I have people saying, you know what, I don't need to get up and see that. But you know what, there is no sunrise that's the same.
No.
And like that, you can smile at. I consider it God smiling or Mother Nature smiling or whatever in the morning to us, and all the colors. And I don't care who you are, if you miss those colors, that cotton candy to oranges to whatever, and you miss that, you're missing out, because
you are.
once it lasts for, I'm going to give you maybe 20 minutes, because I'm saying before the sun comes up to 10 minutes after the sun comes up, then all that's gone.
Right. Yep. It's another moment that's just, disappeared, and you didn't get to do anything with it if you weren't there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've always loved sunrise and sunset hikes. Like, I always try to catch at least one of each on my trip. When I was in Utah, I did quite a few sunrise hikes, and it was beautiful.
Because here's the other part is, I think some people are afraid to walk in the dark.
I think they are, yes. And, I was at first too. And it is scary, whether it's on the hills and you're worried about mountain lions, or, at a new, like, traveling to a national park and you're worried about human predators. I mean, that's the thing to be concerned about. But I always just told myself, if I feel uneasy, don't go. And I've never felt uneasy. So.
And I've been on Crow Peak, and I had a mountain lion look at me. And I called people. This is early, and I called one of my friends. I said, because nobody knew where I was.
Yeah.
I said, well, here's the deal. I have a mountain lion about 30 yards from me. I'm heading down the mountain.
Yeah.
And this is where I'm at.
Yes.
That's the only thing I said. And now, mostly, like, if I'm climbing Crow Peak, I have a speaker going in the morning.
Yeah.
Just because if I have music going, I have a little hook on. Not so much coming down, but going up in the dark.
Yes.
But here's the other deal. With a headlamp, I can turn my head and I can see eyes.
Yes. I went up, it was Lookout Mountain Trails in Spearfish, to see the full moon. I think it was like the pink moon or something of that nature. And I was coming back down, and I was by myself, and something rumbled in those bushes.
Yeah.
And I just said a quick prayer, and I stopped, and it stopped moving, and I bolted, because I'm sure it was just a deer, but you never know.
No.
And my flashlight batteries died.
Oh my gosh.
And so I was like, okay, we're going to use my cell phone as best as possible. And luckily there was cell phone reception, but still I was like, oh geez.
Well, I had the same thing happen to me, though, on Crow Peak. Luckily, it was snowy, but the trail was black. I was on top, and my batteries had froze or something, because I walked all the way down to the bottom without any headlamp.
Oh.
But it was a full moon.
That's good, because that could get slick.
Yeah, I know. And I was going, oh my gosh. But, it's one of those things, like, you got to just watch your steps. But when you get to the bottom, you go, that was an adventure.
It was. Yes. Well, I've done a winter hike around Sunday Gulch Trail. And
oh my gosh.
We did it in the winter, which you were not supposed to.
I know that.
And we did. And I went with someone that is not outdoorsy. And that was my first mistake. And so we had gone around the loop, and we were only a third of a mile at the end of this whole excursion away from the trailhead. But she froze and would not move because there was no trail, no path. And she didn't know where to go. And I told her, I said, it is freezing. I said, we are not properly dressed for the sun going down. I was like, we need to get out of here. And yeah, she panicked hardcore. But it's icy along that trail in the winter.
Did you go this way, or did you come down the steps?
We went down the steps. First, yes.
Oh, then because going up them would.
And I told her we got lucky with that, but we waited for quite a while for her to get down them. And then the trail just ended, there were no footprints or anything, and she panicked, and then she panicked about mountain lions, and it's like, well, there will be some here soon.
Yes.
If we don't get moving. But it's, again, you kind of lose sight when you panic like that. And we were only a third of a mile away, and I think she felt a little ridiculous after we got back to the car. But yeah,
I think you get to. I mean, I tell everybody, I think I've also back to the sunrises, and I think people have gotten lazy because I keep on posting them in the morning, so everybody gets to see them before they could lay in bed and watch the sunrise. Now, this is what happened in Spearfish. I don't need to see it, but I'm just joking there. But some people have said, I mean, at least I look forward to the post that I make, but it's fun to see. I've had people message me and say, thank you, because I got up to see a sunrise.
Yes. Well, good. Yes, I wish more people took advantage of those opportunities. It's hard to motivate people, though. Like you said, it's just I don't know how to quite do it.
Well, because the problem with the sunrise is you have to get out of bed.
Oh, you do, and very early.
The
Sometimes
thing with
it's cold.
and right now it's I mean, now it's getting to be about 5:53, which I'm happy with because I usually am out by 5 o'clock walking. And then if I'm doing something like last Sunday, I had to get up at 3:45. I had to be at the trailhead at Crow Peak, and I got some cool pictures.
Yes.
And the sun but how many people get to see that? The clouds came and you're just gone.
It was, yep. My first sunrise hike up Crow Peak too. I had bartended actually the night before. It was summer break, so I was working my summer job, and I got home at 2:30 in the morning, and I didn't go to sleep because my friend and I left around 4 o'clock to drive up to Crow Peak and get up there. And it was, I still think about that view. It was so vibrant, just bright yellows and oranges, and beautiful.
Well, that's cool. I love hearing about you going on adventures, enjoying life.
Yes.
What are your goals?
Oh gosh.
In the next what's your goals in the next 5 years?
Well, they keep changing. Right now my focus is just kind of getting my footing back and my confidence back, and seeing if I want to stay in my marketing field or if I want to go back into teaching. I've really thought about teaching at the college level. Since I do have credentials to do that. I thought that might be a new avenue, but I would love to teach online. As much as I love the relationship building, I would love to, manifest a life where I am traveling as I'm working or teaching, and I can travel to new places, visit national parks, visit other countries, whatever it might be, and still maintain a career. Patagonia has been on my mind.
Don't say those kind of things to me.
There's a couple women that I follow on Instagram, and they do group trips. And so I've been trying to decide if I want to bite the bullet and put down, the down payment or whatnot that's required and go, or what I should do.
I'd love to see Patagonia.
Yes. They're going in February of 2026. So I was like, I have to decide soon if I want a spot. But
well, I have a friend, Melissa Bardfield, and she lives in St. Martin's.
Okay.
And she's coming in. I think we'll have a great episode when she comes out to Terry Peak here in June. But and we did an episode before, and she has a Sprinter van. She flies up from St. Martin. Her family lives in Boston, and she travels around to all the Total Archery Challenge in her Sprinter van, and then she just sees the country.
Oh, that'd be wonderful.
And I always made fun of Sprinter vans, but that's they interest me at times because I think that would be fun.
Yes. Yep. And I've always felt so free, and I could be myself anytime I was out traveling and visiting someplace new. And I would like to experience that all the time.
I would too. I wish I could win the lottery and be independently wealthy and say, well, I think, we'll go here. We'll go there.
Yes. Yep. That would be great. I've definitely put into the teacher pool for the lottery cards multiple times. So we never won.
But it's fun listening to you, and like Lindsay Ulrich, she went and ran in Mongolia, and I was jealous of that. And you were going maybe going to Patagonia. I'd love to go to Patagonia. I'd love to go to Peru and see Machu Picchu. I mean, I think everybody needs to see some of that sometime.
They do. Yes. Jenny Tuff is an ultra, well, she's an ultra marathoner, but she's also a mountain biker and just an extreme athlete. And a friend and I went to a women's an outdoor women's celebration, if you will, and they had a video on Jenny Tuff, and she's run along on a mountain range in every continent, or on every continent.
Really?
Yes, and she it was a great video.
I would love to see that.
Yes, and she even talked about like the safety issues, because I mean she passed through villages, where it wouldn't be safe normally for a woman, and just kind of how she got through that. And yeah, it's awesome. So,
well, you talked about earlier, like humans and animals, and they had that big controversy about meeting a man in the woods or a grizzly bear in the woods.
Yeah.
And here's the deal. I would rather meet any animal in the woods myself. And it's not humans, you never know about.
Right.
Humans, animal you can kind of judge.
Yes.
And a human you don't know about.
Yes.
I mean, maybe it's because you've followed me a little bit, but I have trouble. You try to connect with people to say, I just want to chat with you.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But we connected to do this, but
yeah,
you never know.
No, you never know. And that's why I try really hard just to trust my instincts in traveling, especially if I'm out on a trail. Who's coming to get me? If I'm out there alone and, somebody stumbles upon me, or I meet someone that's maybe gives me a bad vibe, you have to know what to do.
Yeah.
And luckily I haven't experienced that yet on my travels. I've felt, fairly safe and whatnot, even on some of the trails that I've been on where they're less populated. But yeah, I would definitely rather meet a grizzly bear.
Me too. Personally, I'd rather meet a grizzly bear than a shark, because I don't want to drown. I have this fear of drowning and being ate up by a shark. I
can't swim, so I have a fear of water, like an intense fear of water. When I went to Oregon, that was the first time I had stood under a waterfall. And a woman encouraged me to do it. She said, just go do it. We're here. You'll be fine. And so I let it just kind of wash over me. It was terrifying to be engulfed. But
well, yeah. I think it was growing up in central South Dakota and watching Jaws, and I just don't have any. For me, I do not want to get in the ocean. Nope. I mean, I've been in the ocean, but I'm a terrible dog paddler at best.
Yeah. Yep. I can get in till it's up to my knees or so, and then I'm like, I'm good. Like, I'll get back out.
Yeah. Well,
yep.
Cool. What are your strengths, you think, when you're out there?
Out like hiking and traveling
solo?
Well, we talk about mindset a lot, and I think it's just being in that right frame of mind and pushing myself, just accepting I am who I am and being myself when I'm out there and meeting people and doing what I love. I think, being physically fit, of course, is important to endure, multiple days out on the trails and whatnot. But it's just also, I guess, just, I don't know, having the willingness to do it. I don't set plans a lot when I take these trips, which I really should, but I kind of try to fly by the seat of my pants.
I love that. I love that, because more adventures come by flying by the seat of your pants.
They do. And a lot of people that know me here in the Spearfish and Rapid City area wouldn't believe you if I said that. Like, I just go on a whim because I try to be so structured when I was a teacher and in my career and all those things. And I just think that travel allowed me to be free and see what happens.
Because that's why I don't like to go on a structured. I would never want to go on a structured tour. Yeah. I would never want to go on a tour bus.
Yeah.
I would never, because what if I came into this town and you know what? They have a cool place to eat and they have some cool things going around here, and I would like to climb to the top of that mountain, and I would like tomorrow maybe, and then maybe 2 days I'll head down the road.
Yes.
Maybe this was a cool person I met, and they're going to show me around.
Yep. Well, and I was going to say, talk to the locals. That's something that I have always done, is I find some place the locals go and I chat with them. And, I'll tell them kind of what I'm thinking about doing, and usually they have a better suggestion.
Isn't
And
that amazing?
it is. And so just having that open mind of, talking to people, accepting their suggestions, doing something you're scared of. I've wanted to do a Colorado 14er now for I don't know how long. And anytime I've had a friend with me going to Colorado, they don't want to do it. They're too
Really?
scared. And, I said, you'll be okay. You'll
Yeah.
be okay.
Well, I think Peel is 13 something, 12, 9, just close to a little over 13.
Yeah.
And I get these things in my head and I can't get them out, so I might as well do them.
I know. Yeah, Cloud Peak's the highest that I've done. But yeah, I want to do it, and yeah,
I'm glad
I
to
will
hear
someday.
that. So, well, I've usually I can see what time it is, and so we've been talking for a while, but we get to the last questions, and then usually it goes a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But what's a good life to Jen?
Just being able to be myself, accepting who I am, the good and the bad, having a strong community of supporters, people that I just enjoy being around and can feel connected to, and being able to be active. That's something that's so key to me. I value relationships. So much in my life. And so as long as I'm surrounded by good community and able to do what I love, it's a good life for me.
Well, I do love hearing that because I'd say 80% of the people say it's who surround them,
Yes.
who supports you, who having the good life with the good people around you, and it's amazing. Like we were talking earlier, when you start surrounding yourself with those good, positive people,
Yes.
and now that we know that we're age we are,
Yeah.
in the aspect of I don't know if it was when I learned, but I don't care what you think of me.
Yeah.
That's when life starts happening.
Yes.
And I have a supporter here and I have a supporter there. And the one that supports me and helps me become a better me, that's what I want.
Absolutely. I had a counselor that I worked with for a number of years, and she always said to me, what other people think of me is none of my business. And so I've always tried to think about that, because I'm one of those people that, unfortunately for so long took stock into what other people thought about me, and if I was liked and what I could do to change to be liked. And when I stopped caring about that and started focusing on just, honestly being a little selfish and focusing on what I needed, that's when I saw change.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
Because I have a very independent wife, but we're supportive of each other.
Yeah.
And she supports me with Don't Die Rusty. And I just say, you know what, I'm coming down. I'm going to talk to Jen and we're going to have a conversation. And she says, see you later.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go work out tonight and that kind of thing. And then she's going to Alaska. Her son lives in Anchorage. And she's going to Alaska in May. And she's going up there hopefully in August and maybe in September.
Yeah.
Well, she will be there in September for sure.
Mhm.
Her son's having a baby.
Oh, that's exciting.
And, well, her son isn't having a baby,
Oh,
but
yeah.
his wife is. And I'll go do my things.
Yes.
I get to go to I'm going to Western States.
Yep.
And I'm going to go do these other things. And when you surround yourself with good people and keep that positive and start weaning out those negatives, and the negative people, when you say, screw you, I don't care, I'm going to be the best me, that's when we start winning.
It really is. Absolutely. And I love hearing that your relationship is like that, because, I've been single for a number of years, and it's finding somebody that loves the things you love, but can also have that independent life.
Yeah.
Because I've really enjoyed what I've been able to do on my own, and I don't want that to go away.
Yeah. Well, I think you can find, I mean, I've been divorced.
Yeah.
But Cindy was, and I were older.
Yeah.
And here's the cool thing: we met online. She's from Pierre. I from out here, and I was lucky enough that I could go see my mom and dad and stop and see her. But she wasn't going to leave Pierre before her kids graduated.
Oh, okay.
So we had a long relationship before then. And she was very independent.
Yes.
She was very independent when I met her. And then when we finally decided it's either we need to be in a relationship
Yes.
or we need to move on. One of the two.
Yes.
And and the deal breaker would have been, I said, here's the deal. I'm not leaving the Black Hills.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah.
And I think when we get in relationships, we don't say that stuff.
Right.
If it's we're trying to win that person, so you would kill yourself inside roughly because I have nothing to do in here.
Yeah.
The Black Hills are I
Yes.
can be out the door and doing something that I enjoy. And I said, can't do it. And she said,
Nope.
well, I want to move out there anyway.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I go hunting. And the other part about being in a good relationship is the trust factor.
Yes.
And like, I'm coming down here to a podcast with another female, and you know what?
Yep.
There is no word. She'll be in bed asleep when I get home.
Yeah.
And don't wake me up.
Yep.
Kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's where the trust factor comes into a lot of things too.
Absolutely.
And I think in this day and age we don't have trust because we see a lot of things that aren't trustworthy.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. Yes. And, trust. That's been, a key reason I think that I've been so alone is having those trust issues, in regard to a relationship and whatever it might be. But, some of my closest friends are males that are married, and, their wives know who I am. They're fine with us going trail running together. And it's just awesome to have those types of people in your life. And yeah.
I know we were getting to the end here, but this is getting this. See, I told you. When do you think that changed? Because I have very good friends that are female, that are married. Ashley and I go hunting together.
Yeah.
And we went for 4 or 5 days. I mean, she's in her tent, I'm in my tent, we go hunting. And Jesse and Cindy know that nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I consider her one of my best friends. When do you think that changed? Because, I bet you if you went 25, I'm just saying 25 years ago,
yeah,
people would have been jealous. You don't do that.
Yeah. I don't know. I always grew up getting along with like the boys in my class better than the girls. And so I've always had really strong male friendships. And even when I dated, there was no give and take. Like I had male friends, and if you didn't like that, well, then we weren't going to date, because I wasn't willing to end friendships over that. So for me, like it was just something that was always a part of my life. So I don't know when that changed. I don't think about, I think about my parents, and they didn't have friends of the opposite sex. So yeah, I don't know.
Because it's funny because you talk to a different generation, and it's like you never had that, but it's like you're supposed to have friends that you can vent to.
Yes.
Everybody says, "Oh, my wife is my best friend." Cindy's not my best friend. She's not my best friend. She's my wife.
Yeah.
And you should be your best friend. You should be able to vent to.
Yes.
And talk about your wife. You know what I mean? And like, she pissed me off today or something like that. But we've never been in that big of a, but I'm just saying it's interesting. Because I have a good relationships with females, and there is no thought but being friends.
Yeah.
And I hate the people that say, like, there's always some sexual thing happening.
Yeah.
Thought.
Yes.
And there isn't.
No.
I have no thoughts like that.
Yep. Nope. Yeah. People always think there's this ulterior motive or rumors start or whatever it might be. And yeah, that's just never been the case for me either. I've just always enjoyed conversations with anyone that I meet, that I connect with and engage with. And I wish more people had that same mindset, especially, nowadays when so many of us are kind of craving, community and connection, especially with the digital age and whatnot. And I wish more people just, connected with who they connected with and didn't think about, Male, female, married, not married.
Well, exactly, because it should be that way. It should be. I just that when you said that, it just interested.
Yeah.
It interests me in that manner because like I said, we go do tons of stuff together, and it's the time that's spent, and there is never ever a thought. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a lot of stupidity. I make some stupid videos with Ashley, but
Yeah.
has never been that. And it's funny because Cindy said, I think it was at Christmas time, and we're all busy.
Yep.
And she said, I think we went out on a hike or something, or we went somewhere, and she says, I'm glad you're getting some Ashley time.
Yeah.
Because you come back more fulfilled. Like, I
Yes.
come back fulfilled to talk to Cindy then.
Yes. Yeah. My friend's wife does the same thing. He is also struggled with alcohol abuse over his lifetime. And she'll be like, you need to call Jen. You need to go plan something with Jen. Like, go spend some time with Jen running or hiking or whatever it might be. And he just goes, I'm so thankful for that she, respects that I have friends that are females, and, we serve different purposes in each other's lives. And yeah.
And that's why we come into each other's lives, I guess.
Exactly. For sure.
Well, thank you for following me and letting me
Yes.
follow you on Instagram.
Yes.
I mean, hopefully we can keep on inspiring the world.
I hope so. Yes, I definitely have a lot of writing in the works, and I'm getting back into processing and sharing and creating. So I'm excited.
Because I read your blog, and we're trying to get our Don't Die Rusty website out, and I need to write a blog for it because I'm trying to explain what Don't Die Rusty is.
Oh, yes.
In the blog, and it's like, oh my gosh, I had writer's block, and I love to write, and I'm trying to do some other projects, and I was just like, every time I'd write a paragraph, it just didn't sound right to me, and I wanted it to come out. And then I read yours, and then I watched Bob Dylan's movie, and how he was writing music and how he was talking to the audience. And it's funny because last night I said, Cindy, I'm going to stay up and write a little while. And it just started flowing. It
does. Just journaling and not worrying about what's getting onto the paper or onto the computer is the best thing. Like, I probably have, drafts and drafts of the same topic, but each time I go in and think about it, I just write more, and just letting whatever comes come.
Well, that is awesome. Yeah. So, well, thank you for being on.
Thank you.
Well, Don't Die Rusty Nation, this has been a wonderful conversation. And as usual, keep chasing your dreams, being the best you. And of course, don't die rusty.
Thank you for listening to the Don't Die Rusty podcast with your hosts, Rick Hanson and Ricky Bruley. The Don't Die Rusty podcast is written and produced by Rick Hanson and Ricky Bruley. You can find us on Instagram and on Facebook at Don't Die Rusty. You can rate and review this show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You might find your review read on a future episode. Got a question for the Ricks? Send us an email at don'tdierusty@gmail.com. It too could be featured on a future episode. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Don't Die Rusty podcast wherever fine podcasts are downloaded.